a monster.
I'm your number one fan.
Now clear your minds. Notice what scares you. It has from the very beginning.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
Just been informed that zombies have entered the building. They're at the door. They're coming in. Every borough of the city, from Brooklyn to Manhattan, from Harlem to Queens, the zombies are taking over. The governor has declared a state of national emergency and has asked the president for immediate assistance. The zombies are everywhere.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. I am one of your hosts, Frosty, and alongside me, as always, is Corey Pete.
What's going on, brother?
And also in here with us, as always, is Tony.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on, guys? Welcome back. How are we doing?
Good.
Doing great, man. Ready to get into this bad boy.
Yeah. It is late here. It is currently 1 a.m. in the morning. Thanksgiving. Well, it's technically Thanksgiving Day right now.
It is, yep.
So I could probably go downstairs and eat all the food my wife has prepped. I don't think she'll get mad because it's Thanksgiving, right?
It's Thanksgiving. Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
I'll just tell her that I'm just thankful for all the food she's prepared for me and only me. It's not selfish of me at all.
Not at all.
No, not at all.
So yeah, we are talking about Zombie, or Zombie 2, as its original title would have it. Interesting little story there. Care to elaborate on that, Tony? Because I know you had mentioned, the don't get me started. So what is the deal with that? Why is it Zombie 2?
So
they made a Zombie 1. No one knows where it is.
Still waiting on Zombie 3.
Where's it at?
Well, there is one actually.
They did. Unofficially there's like 6 or 7 of them, but the reason Zombie 2 is known as Zombie 2 is because the Italian producers of this movie wanted to capitalize on the success of George Romero's Dawn of the Dead, which was known in Italy as Zombie. So they pushed it to be, they didn't shoot it to be the sequel, but they wanted to capitalize, which is Italy's famous for, the Italian motion picture. They're very, adding unofficial sequels to popular movies in the States. So they did this in particular with Lucio Fulci Zombie by calling it Zombie 2 to kind of, write off the success of Zombie because it was very popular. Dawn of the Dead was a massive hit. So basically that's why they did it. That's why they added the 2. But me, it's always going to be Zombie because Dawn of the Dead is Dawn of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, 2 different countries, 2 different directors. So you're telling me this has nothing to do with the hit Alanis Morissette song?
Right.
Damn it. I thought I had cracked that case.
Oh.
I was, in the words of Tim Curry, I'm afraid you're mistaken. So yeah, 1979, this movie came out. I stand before you to listeners. Admittedly, I come before you as a shamefully to tell you that I just recently watched this movie for the first time, like 3 weeks ago. But I picked it up because I'm no fool, and just in conversations with Tony and Corey, I know you don't see this movie in the wild often. You certainly don't see it in the wild 25th anniversary edition with the sleeve complete. It's still got all the paperwork in it. Just in immaculate condition. $10 I think I paid. And great movie. Great practical effects. Just a all around great zombie film.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get into that.
Yeah, oh yeah. So, but yeah, like, where do we want to start with this one? I mean, I know, Corey, what do you think, man? Where should we start with this?
I don't know. Everything needs to be talked about with this one.
Yeah.
We can honestly start off with some of the dialogue. I noticed this time with this watch, I was more in tune to critiquing this film than I normally am. Usually I'm sitting down to enjoy the film. This time I sat down, really critiquing it, and honestly I've got really all good things to say about this film. There's honestly nothing that I can definitively hate towards this film. Like there's nothing. Of course, you got classic Fulci, and this is actually one of his greatest successes. Um, I just ultimately love this film. I honestly, actually, there is something that I do want to get into. There's two little tangents that um I did pick up on. So the first one is dialogue. Um, there's this scene where once the ship makes its way into the harbor, um, and forgive me, the main actress, what's her character's name?
Anne
Yes.
Anne Bowles.
So
Bowles?
she's
Bowles?
I don't know. She's sitting in the ship, her dad's ship, and the detective is like hounding her, and he asks her, had she heard from her father? And she says, I haven't heard from him in a month. And then he says, when's the last time you spoke with him? And she said 3 months ago. And I was like, wait a minute. And I had to rewind it and watch it again. And I was like, sure enough, I just heard that. Like that was a failure on their part with that. And
jack the dub up.
and the other one was in the zombie shark fight scene.
Oh yeah.
I noticed that of course, if you're in a tank with a shark or whatever, I get it. You're an actor, but at the same time, a shark is coming at you. Let alone this was a tiger shark. I don't know if you guys picked up on that.
It was a tiger.
But there's this one scene, real quick. You can actually see where he is like trying to frantically get away from the shark at one point. And it's like no zombie would actually do that. They would just constantly go after their prey.
Yeah.
That is a good point.
Yeah, it was actually the trainer, because the original actor that was supposed to be in that scene, something fell through and he just couldn't do it. So the trainer,
yeah, he's like, I ain't gonna fucking tank with a shark.
I'm not gonna fucking tank with a shark.
This is a real shark?
Yeah, I'm not doing that shit. Fucking getting cold feet.
Hey, Mr. Fulci, yes, I have exploding diarrhea. I'm not gonna be able to make it today.
I'm not gonna be able to make it. So yeah, it was
actually, we're filming the shark scene.
The shark trainer that actually dubbed in for that or filled in for that scene, and he played the zombie that actually fought the shark, which the shark was also sedated.
Yeah, and they fed him. Like they fed him a lot and sedated him, and he was still trying to bite him.
That just goes to show you how vicious those tiger sharks really are.
But if you did notice this, I'm pretty sure that this was a shark in captivity, right? Correct? Because I don't know if you've ever been to like an aquarium or SeaWorld or stuff like that, but they pull their teeth out. And in this case, the shark didn't have but a couple teeth, I think I seen. So it told me right away that he was a shark in captivity.
Domesticated.
Mm-hmm.
That scene was and I think that I really contribute my opinion of the movie to that one scene, as far as like, I watched it, I made the jokes that it's the most artistic zombie movie I ever saw, and I think I really contribute that to this scene alone, just because of like, who would have thought to have a zombie and a shark like in a tank or just in the ocean fighting, like just so random, but it was really cool. Like it worked somehow, and like when the zombie had grabbed a hold of it and his arm had slipped into his mouth, like you hear that nasty crunching sound. Like it's,
Oh,
it's
fucking
just,
for me every time.
it's so far fetched, but also believable.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it was, I mean, it's a zombie film, so it's gonna be far fetched, but it's, you know what I mean? Like zombies in water, we don't really see that much.
Really
Mhm.
You
don't.
certainly don't see them in water fighting sharks.
No.
Fun
But
fact: I was reading IMDb. Apparently, in the horror comedy, is it horror comedy or just comedy? It's a movie called "This Is the End." I never saw it, but apparently, one of the characters in the movie, they reference this. They reference zombie in that movie, and one of the characters is actually wearing a zombie versus shark T-shirt. I thought it was funny.
Which I want that T-shirt.
Got you.
but yeah, to your point though, never seeing this. It was just definitely different, and it's definitely out of the comfort zone of a normal zombie film.
Right.
You know, it almost seemed like he was trying to put this film on a different scale when he wrote it, and it
Yeah.
worked. You know,
Yeah.
and that specific scene that you were talking about, Daniel, where the arm slips in the mouth, I, you can clearly see, being it's a shark without teeth. I would have assumed that they would have just stuck the arm in, but just out of precaution, you could definitely tell that the guy just basically had a dummy arm off to the side of him, and you could actually see that his shoulder and everything was kind of tucked in the shirt. You
Mm.
know, so I mean, I did pick up on that, but there again, I mean, it's just a film.
And it
At the
was
end
made
of
in
the
the
day, so,
70s, so you
yeah.
had to kind of do what you had to do. And
Mhm.
still it was just, I mean, when people think about, zombie too, they think about two scenes in particular. That is the one scene, the zombie versus shark scene, that people think about, and they also think about the splinter in the eye scene,
Yep.
which
Yeah.
fucking masterful. And what I love about Fulci is he doesn't shy away. He doesn't cut away. Just when you think he's going to cut away, no, he's not cutting away. You're seeing the whole fucking thing happen.
Yeah.
And with Fulci, that's a trope of his, and I wouldn't say trope, but that's something he loves to do is eye trauma in his movies. He has
Mhm.
a affection for shooting like traumatic eye gouging scenes, and of course that's the classic. That's what everybody remembers.
I'm sensitive with eye trauma. I think everyone is because it's like that's a sensitive
Very,
little digit on.
and that's why it's so effective, and that's why it works so well. Is
Right.
because everybody can get, oh, you just cringe every time you see something like that happen.
Yeah. Like
Mhm.
severe eye gouging scenes get me too. Like I watch them, but I cringe a little too. 28 Weeks Later had a rough eye gouging scene.
Oh yeah.
In context too is the worst. Just because of the whole buildup and what happened, him abandoning her in the house, she gets affected. He finds her, kisses her, immediately gets affected, and just eye gouges her to death.
Yeah.
Terrible scene. like, uh, then for those who've seen the Punisher, the Netflix Punisher season 2, there's a nasty eye gouge scene in that one. So that it's rough. Eye gouge scenes are rough. So I respect the hell out of like what they did with that scene. It was just so methodical and so slow, and
Mhm.
it's like
It built up so well.
the build up, like it's coming, and you're like, oh god. And
That's
plus it's
you
a
know
zombie. It's not like he just mindlessly busted through the wall and started biting her. It's like he took the stereotype type for zombies, and he just experimented with it.
Yeah.
You had shark versus zombie. Then you had the zombie using its brute strength. You don't really think of zombies as being strong, but they're just like these mindless reanimated monsters. So it's just grabbing her, and he's trying to pull her to him no matter what. He don't care what's in its way, even if it's a giant 2x4 sticking out of the wall. He's just gonna ram her face into. So that was really interesting. Really, really cool. What he did And I feel like that might be one of the reasons why this movie's hailed, or praised so much.
It
Yeah.
definitely is, man. It
Very
definitely.
artistic.
When people think about it, I mean, honestly, I mean, even mainstream audience, movie watchers and stuff. I've had a conversation with somebody at work that's not a horror fan, does like he just watches mainstream stuff, and even then, he told me, "Hey, I remember a movie I watched when I was younger, where this chick got her eye just impaled with a shard from a piece of wood," and I was like, "Oh, dude, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's from Zombie." He's like, "Yeah, that's it. That's the movie." Like, I couldn't think of it for the longest time. I watched it, saw it when I was a kid. Well, I don't know if he was a kid. He was younger, but he couldn't think of the title for the longest time. And he knew I was a fan, and he was like, "Hey, let me throw this at you. I saw this one scene in particular that really stuck with me, and that was the scene." So, I mean, even people that don't like watch horror and stuff like that, they know like the zombie versus shark scene. They know, um,
Mm.
that wonderful like splinter through the eye scene. They know this stuff, so it definitely stands the test of time. And with Fulci, the thing about Fulci is he has a way of like purveying atmosphere in his movies.
Mhm.
It's something when people think of Fulci, they think of atmosphere, they think of gore. Like he's the spaghetti splatter king. That's what he's known as. Um, so his movies are always filled with gruesome scenes.
Mm.
Wonderful, wonderful gore. I have to, I knew we were going to get into it, but I have to give it up to Gennaro De Rossi, the special effects makeup artist for this movie. The look of the zombies is fucking incredible.
Yeah.
The gore is masterful. I mean, you just have like the most iconic zombie, or one of the most iconic zombies in the conquistador zombie that rises out of the out of
Hmm.
the ground with the worms in his eye, and it's just so fucking iconic. It's the poster. Like people know that. I've had the shirt, and people are like, "Oh wow, man, that shirt's fucking cool. Was that from a movie?" Like they just thought it was just a regular, just a random zombie. They didn't know it
Yeah.
was an actual movie. So
You're
I
like,
got so
sit
many.
down. Let me tell you this great story.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, "Oh, it's actually from a movie, and you need to check it out." Like that was a good way to recommend this movie to people, because even if people are starting to get into Italian horror, there's some movies that you recommend for like the entry level people that have never seen it before, don't know what it's about. Zombie's always that one movie I say, "Hey, you need to check this out." It's usually Zombie with Fulci or The Beyond, which are two of my favorite
Mhm.
Fulci films of all time. I always throw those out there for people that say, "Hey, I've never seen Italian horror. What's it all about?" Like, give me a movie that pretty much encapsulates all that there is with Italian horror, and I'll be like, "Okay, well, there's different styles, but if you want to see gore, you're better off watching The Beyond, or you're better off watching Zombie."
What about From Beyond, where Jeffrey Combs grows a giant wiener in his forehead and gets
Wiener
psychic powers,
and sucks out eyeballs.
sucks out eyeballs?
Yes, sir.
No, but to Daniel's point where he said that this was an art form for Fulci. I agree to that statement 100%, because while I was sitting there taking notes while watching this film, subtle things that I noticed. At one point, Fulci used mirrors. This was right before the eye gouge scene. So this
Mhm.
is where she's in the bathroom, she's taking a shower, and I noticed that behind her was, so you have this naked woman, right?
Mhm.
And behind her is a bunch of mirrors, and they are showing every angle of this woman to where you actually see her full body naked. Have you guys picked up on that?
I, I, I,
Yeah,
I mean, I noticed the mirrors. I guess I wasn't really, paying that much attention to it.
Yeah.
I
So
did.
like, yeah, so there's one mirror behind her. There's three mirrors total, but there's one mirror behind her kind of showing basically her ass, and then there's another showing her chest, and then her downstairs region, and then and
The
it's
naughty no zone.
yeah. But it's just a way to manipulate mirrors just to show a full nude
Yeah.
scene. and I thought that was just really cool on his part.
Well, when you
The other one,
bring that up, when you bring that up, I thought of something because I did notice that, and when you brought it up, I was going to say, you know, Argento and Fulci had like a friendly kind of rivalry back then, and I'm thinking because Argento was the mirror guy, like he did a lot of stuff with mirrors in his movies. I'm thinking maybe that was a subtle nod to Argento, and maybe Fulci was kind of like, hey, like giving him, like a little barb there. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but who knows? Like, because I know they had like a friendly kind of back and forth in that time because they were two of the leading Italian horror directors. I mean, they were, they were so popular and they were so revered that stepping on each other's toes a little bit was probably part of the fun of it all. And maybe that's got something to do with it. I don't know. But I did notice that.
So that's definitely interesting.
Yeah. And like I said, maybe I'm reading too much into that. Maybe I'm just pulling that out of nowhere. But it's possible because Argento did a lot with mirrors. So
yeah. And the other thing that I wanted to bring up was there's this so the scene where you were talking about where the zombies were coming up out of the ground. I noticed that in one of the scenes, as the zombie was rising up out of the ground, you almost get a real quick view as if you're the zombie, and dirt is trickling over the camera lens.
yeah.
So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You almost gave the audience a perspective of what the zombie was seeing as he was coming up out of the ground.
Yeah,
That
POVs.
fucking awesome.
And there's another thing too, and we might have touched on this briefly in a previous episode, but I love like how the origins of the zombies. It was, very voodoo related, so it was kind of different in essence. Like I know we've talked about the origins of zombies come from like voodoo and stuff, but like it was just cool to see how you had these conquistadors that had been in the ground rotting for years just spring up out of the ground. I thought it was kind of cool because a lot of typical zombie movies you see now are mostly like this breakout happens, this person somehow gets infected by this person, and then it just multiplies from there. This was like he really brought the dead to life, like literally, and of course created one of the most iconic scenes in the movie and in just zombie cinema in general. I thought it was really cool.
Well, these were what what is it? So I guess they were cursed men, or this island was cursed or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, to your point though, that's so there's a fine line there, between zombie and what's a zombie and what's an infected, and like these are full on zombies. These are you know every epitome of a zombie. They're not fast moving zombies. They're very slow. They're damn near walking. So they're almost like the original like Night of the Living Dead, slow zombies. Um, they don't move fast, and they show that if there's only one or two of them, you can get away from them real easily, versus when there's a whole horde of them breaking into a hospital, it's damn near impossible to get away.
Yeah.
So
They just create a wall of dead. And that's usually what happens, right? Like, because you see one zombie or two zombies walking by themselves, it's like, well, I'll just run around them. But, they accumulate in a spot and it just creates this wall. And that's what makes them terrifying, And that's one of the things I think you'll really like about that movie I watched today, Little Monsters, is they're slow zombies. So they're legit zombies, but there's a lot of them, So, and there are scenes where they're like running in between the zombies, to get where they need to go. But then sometimes they just can't because there's too many, and I mean, that's just classic, classic zombie there. So,
definitely. What's y'all's thoughts on all the special effects, like all the gore? Let's talk about the gore.
Word.
So good.
So fantastic, man.
So good. I love going back and watching some older horror movies where it's really all they had was special effects and practical effects.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because the gore just looks so much more raw. Like one of the cringiest scenes for me, I think, would have to be when they go into the doctor's house to check on the wife, and she's laying there dead and she's getting eaten. We've seen it, we've seen that plenty of times in many zombie movies where they're just tearing through flesh. The problem is in that particular scene, it didn't look like flesh. It looked like like soggy cake. Like it just like it was you could tell, I mean, it's a zombie
Oh,
movie made in the 70s. It's practical effects, but it just the way they made it look just looked disgusting.
It
So
was
it's,
really meaty, really gross. It's very effective.
so it's
was
almost
was
like
it?
in our desensitized mind from seeing like flesh on screen being torn apart in zombie movies, that we go back and we see this where it's like obviously fake, but because it's obviously fake, it's almost grosser because we're not used to seeing that. You know what I mean? It's
Well,
like
was this? Did they use raw chicken on this one?
Oh, that I don't.
Do we know? No,
Not sure.
I'll have to find out. Um, so yeah, Daniel, majority of the older zombie films and stuff, they used raw chicken, and that gave the effect off,
mm,
which I had
that
never
makes sense.
understood it, because how can you sit there and stick raw chicken in your mouth and not get salmonella poisoning?
I guess you have to digest it, but I wouldn't take the risk. I tell you that. You'd have to pay me a
Yeah.
lot of money. I know that. But speaking of gore, here's a fun fact. As shown in trailers before the film was released, airline barf bags were handed out to theater moviegoers due to the unusually high amount of violence and gore for a horror film at that time.
Yeah, at that time,
Hmm.
it's very, 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 very ahead of its time.
Yeah, it
I
was
mean,
it was a lot of
the,
gore.
the scene where and again, I'm bad with names today, but um, the one girl where she gets her throat bitten by the
Mm-hmm.
infamous zombie. Um,
Susan was her name in the movie.
Susan.
Aretta Gay was her name.
Our naked scuba diver.
Naked scuba, like butt ass naked scuba diver. Who does that? That was a cringy scene too because she gets out of the water and Peter's just kind of looking at her.
Yeah,
And he's like
Like,
staring her down, and then the other chick's looking at him like, "What you looking at?" You know?
who's not even with him? She's just there as like a partner.
Yeah,
That's the funny thing. I caught on to that. She's like looking at him like, this motherfucker.
yeah. Like they're not even dating or nothing. She's just automatically mad at him. Like her woman instincts kicked in real fast.
real quick.
And then
And
the
I,
husband's sitting there just like, I'm gonna feed my face. The hell with it. Yeah, she's
Oh,
got
dude,
boobs.
yeah, he's like,
let
"This is
me
my wife."
let me tell you something about Al Cliver, who plays Brian Hull. Al Cliver's got to be my favorite Italian actor of all time. He's so fucking awesome. Like he's just he has so much charisma. He's so cool. He's so chill. Like he just I hate what happens at the end to to
Mm.
Yeah,
his character because you just want him to because he's so fucking cool. Like
he's he's
you
almost kind of like the Fly Boy in a
he
sense.
is.
Yeah.
He's just such oh dude, he's so much cooler. Like I love Al Cliver, man. Every time I see him in a movie, I'm like, yes, that's my fucking guy. That's my dude. Like I'm always rooting for him. I just love watching him in Italian horror films. He's just awesome. I can't say enough good things about him. He's such a cool dude. He's got a
He
good look.
was he in Manchester Morgue as well?
No,
Okay.
that was Ray Lovelock, who was another fucking awesome
Okay. That's
actor.
yeah.
Kind of has the same look, kind of has the same, but he is in the Beyond. So there you go.
Okay. Okay.
And a slew of other films. I mean, he's in a ton of other stuff, but yeah, he's my favorite Italian horror actor. Like I fucking love him in movies.
Yeah, he was a cool character
He's
for
Mhm.
awesome.
sure. The head smashing scenes in this movie were awesome.
They were.
There's two of them, if I'm not mistaken. There's one where I think Peter delivers both blows, if I'm not mistaken. Like he was the designated head smasher in this,
Yes, he
this movie.
was.
And one of them, he picked up the cross from the graveyard and just smashed that zombie's head into. That's great practical effects there. And then there's the one where the zombie's trying to climb through the window and he hits it. I think with a shovel, if I'm not mistaken.
Shovel, yeah, it was a
Yeah,
shovel.
it's just man.
Well, he peeled the zombie's face off with it or whatever,
Mm, mhm.
didn't he? Or something like that. Yeah, his face came off or something.
It was brutal. Good old exploding heads, man.
You were talking earlier about the sound quality. You know, one of the things, or not sound quality, but the scene where under the water the shark
Crunching.
munching down on the bone. Um, there's
That's
so
exactly.
I don't I don't know if you noticed, but like every time a zombie would sit up or something, you could hear the bones cracking and stuff, almost like rigor mortis has already set in and stuff.
Yeah, that's a cool touch, man.
And yeah, as they were sitting up slowly, I noticed that they were just cracking and popping and stuff. I thought that was
That's
really
just
cool.
that's just good attention to detail, you know.
It really is.
And
And
this
that's what
movie's
you're gonna
just
get with a Fulci film, you know.
yeah. And this movie's just like it's titled so appropriately too, like zombie, because he put so much attention to detail into the zombies. Everything from their makeup, the way they walk, the way they act, um, the the deaths of the zombies. It's all so unique, and it's all it's almost like he the actors were there as like as backup to the main stars of the film. That was the zombies themselves.
Yeah, they definitely are front and center. Very, very front and center, and just extremely well, just amazingly done. Amazingly done. The effects on the zombies themselves. I mean, I know Fulci called them. He called them the walking flower pots, which was a cool little nickname for them. The way they look with the makeup applied, it was very caked on, so they kind of did have that look. So
Yeah.
I love that little nickname for them.
Well, and to what Daniel was saying, when the zombies were getting shot, I noticed that like the fresher corpses would bleed a little bit, but
Mhm.
the older ones would kind of have some dust fly out of them and stuff.
Yep.
I don't
None
I don't know
of
if you picked up on that, but again, attention to detail, you
I
know.
certainly didn't. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And you'll find that as you're watching Italian zombie films because for some reason, Americanized zombie films, you watch the zombie films and they all bleed, they all have a lot of fluids coming out of them. But then you watch like Italian ones and the ones that have been dead for a long time, that there's like just dust flying out of them
Dude,
and gross
burial.
brown mud. Yeah,
Burial
Burial Ground is a
Very
fine
aggressive.
example.
Those are the dustiest zombies ever. Like they're made of. It's
It's like they got
amazing.
Nesquik chocolate
Yeah,
powder inside of them.
awesome, man. It's crazy. That movie
But
kicks ass. We got to do that one too. Oh, God, I fucking love that movie.
I would love to do that one.
So good. There's a lot to talk about with that one. You want to talk about famous scenes? Yeah, yeah.
Oh
But
God,
yeah,
a
to
weird
your
man
point,
child.
to your point, Italians have a way of making their zombies very unique. They just stand out when it comes to like, especially when you talk about zombie films made in the States. The Italian zombies are very very. They're just they're Italian. Like they just have their own flair. They have their own unique look, and I think it's great to set it apart. Like I mean, to do like I know it's funny. It's unintentional almost that the Italian the production behind this movie wanted to market off the success of Dawn of the Dead, but really if you do like a double feature with Dawn of the Dead and Zombie, it's actually a really good double feature. It's really fun to see both of these movies, back to back. I mean, unintentionally, I mean, it's an interesting way of looking at both because both are very, very, very iconic zombie films, especially when you talk about zombie films in the 70s. They're the best. But to watch them both together, you get like a compare and contrast, and you get like zombies done in the States versus zombies done in Italy. You just get a lot to compare, and it's really fun watching it that way. Yeah.
Here's another little fun fact here. Apparently, while shooting on location in New York City, Captain Haggerty, who played the large bald zombie who attacks the Harbor Patrol at the beginning of the film, walked into CBGB's, a tiny bar, which was flourishing punk rock venue at the time, in full zombie makeup, complete with splattered fake blood and mud caked all over his face and body. Due to the outrageous punk styles in those days of the bar patrons, he was barely noticed.
Oh my gosh.
Even
That's awesome.
even the bartender never looked twice at him.
That's so funny because I've been big into the Misfits and the Ramones and stuff like that. That's actually where they started out. That's where they got famous.
Yeah, sadly, CBGB's is no more. It's since been shut down, so it's kind of bittersweet, sad.
Mm.
Yeah,
it's a very, very iconic club in New York.
Yeah, a lot of people have played there. The Sex Pistols played there. The Clash, a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
But that's cool. I didn't know that. That's a pretty neat little tidbit. What do you guys think about the ending scene where they're walking into New York?
Dude, I fucking love it. I love it.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Matter of fact, when when Blue Underground put out the re-release Blu-rays and they had the lenticular covers, of course they had the splinter in the eye, the conquistador zombie with the worms in his eye. I wanted the scene where the zombies are going into the city. Like I thought that's so iconic. Like I don't know why it's not talked about even more. It's an iconic scene.
It is. It really is.
Yeah. It just draws me in. Like I see, the conquistador zombie. I see the splinter in the eye. I'm like, I mean, I've seen that. I'm like, I want something that's, to me, is just as iconic. So I gravitated to that cover in particular.
Well,
And I
that
just
seems.
I love how they couldn't afford to stop traffic, so traffic's still flowing through the city.
Yeah.
Funny, but they couldn't stop traffic in New York. They didn't have the budget, so they had.
That's
But
great.
the cool thing is the ending really does give off kind of like there's no hope, because they get in the boat to leave, and he's got the one zombie, or their friend or whatever, but now he's a zombie locked away, and he's like, we got to keep him because we got to have proof. And then they cut on the radio, and then it's everywhere. It's spreading everywhere, and it just gives them a sense of there's no hope. And then when you see that scene, essentially zombies are walking the bridge into one of the biggest cities in America, one of the heaviest populated cities in America. That should be the it right there. That's going to be the end.
Yeah.
So it just gives you a sense of no hope right there.
Yeah. Like my love and definitive, just appreciation for movies that end on a dour note like that. So I love it. It works for me.
There's zombies at the door. They're coming in. Ah! That scream.
So great.
I wanted to laugh at that.
And no mentions of that guy being a scream queen.
Yeah, right.
Like that was such a cool scream.
Yeah. Oh, the career he could have had.
Scream King.
Yeah.
But that it's so cool because I honestly my first time watching the movie, I'm sitting there, they're on the boat, and I'm like, there's no way to get out of this, like this. And then when they talked about turning on the radio or whatever, immediately I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Like they had that zombie from the beginning. So It's like, you forget about it, but while they're on this island, it's spreading in the States.
Hmm.
So
'Cause I thought about that when the Harbor Patrol, when they shoot the Captain Haggerty zombie, the big zombie,
yeah,
he goes straight into the water. So I'm
yeah,
thinking, oh, that's not good. And then the autopsy with the cop that was bitten, there's a scene that cuts to his fingers moving, so he's gonna spring up and just start attacking. So, I mean, it's obviously gonna spread very, very quick, and
mm,
that's what I love about the end. The end kind of ties it all together because you kind of forget about that because you spend so much time on the island. You
hmm
just kind of forget about what's going on in the outside world, and then it's like, well, no, we're gonna we're gonna tell you what's going on, and don't you forget, like this shit is spreading, and there's just no hope. The zombie
you forgot to say the magic word.
So I dig that. I love that. Like you said, attention to detail is everything. So it's awesome. Like Fulci really, really fucking crafted a man. I love this movie. It's a masterpiece to me. He it was carefully crafted. Fulci wanted to make his zombie movie. He didn't want to. He was kind of offended that the production kind of wanted to mooch off the success of Dawn of the Dead. Fulci's like, no, this is my baby. I wanted to take it back to voodoo, and I wanted to take it back to, being set on an island, which is another thing. The setting is fucking fantastic. You don't get a lot of films set on an island, and I love it. And he has a way of, going back to what I said earlier, his atmosphere, even for the daytime shots, the atmosphere is very thick. Usually you get heavy atmosphere at night, but with
Yeah.
Fulci, he's able to capture that even during the day with his day shots.
hmm Yeah.
Fucking really well done.
That's something I was thinking about today. Is I appreciate the hell out of a movie that can show you terror even during the day, because a lot of movies, especially now, are so focused on the daytime scenes is going to be where everyone's safe, and it's just a bit of character and story development into it. But when nighttime comes, is when all the scary stuff happens. Well, why can't there be scary stuff during the day? And I think this movie, and this isn't the only movie, obviously, but you were just saying that, because when you think about islands, you think about daytime sunshine,
Yeah, you think of vacations and relaxation
yeah.
and all
This
that
is
shit.
this is like there's fucking zombies on this island. So I mean, Scooby Doo knows all about that.
And it's terrifying because you're on an island. I mean, you have literally you're kind of blocked off. You have nowhere to go. If shit breaks down, if you don't have a boat, what the fuck are you gonna do? Like, you know what I'm saying? Kind of like,
These zombies fight sharks, so it's
yeah,
not like you're gonna swim.
they're obviously fine with being underwater, and you're just like it's terrifying to think about, like being just trapped on an island with a zombie with zombies coming at you. It's crazy.
Yeah. Hey, one of the scenes in the house where, okay, so we're going back to where the doctor's wife is getting eaten in
hmm
like the living room area, and the two zombies meet them at the front door, and they're kind of chasing. They're not chasing them, but they're walking slowly towards them,
Mm.
and they grab like the elk antlers, and then they proceed to beat. Weren't you almost like hoping for an impalement scene there?
Yeah.
I
Of
thought for
course.
sure that's what was going to happen, was just like straight up impale.
Actually, Arnold Schwarzenegger walks to the door, throws a machete, stick around.
Can see him with a giant fucking pair of antlers, just fucking
Yeah.
doing that and just sticking them to the fucking wall and saying, "Stick around."
Just when you thought there's zombies to worry about on an island, we got the fucking predator.
You one ugly son of a bitch.
What the hell are you?
Go get your mother. Oh, jeez.
Let's talk about the fact that these guys never run out of ammo.
Oh, that yeah.
Never, ever run out of ammo. Which, by the way, the doctor, like he must have had a surplus of like revolver bullets. Because I felt really bad for the daughter, because he kind of gives off these creepy vibes, like at first, it's like, oh, this is doctor, he's incompetent, he don't know what he's doing, and he's sketch. But then, like, the more you get to know him, you're like, oh wait, this guy's he's stuck on his island, and this evil voodoo magic going on. These zombies are coming alive, and like people that he sees dies, even people he's close to, he has to wrap them up in a sheet and shoot them in the head and bury them. Like,
well, then not to mention he's got a whole whole bunch of weight on his shoulders, because you got the local tribes that are against him, thinking that he's the one that's causing all this as well.
Yeah.
So you got people that hate him on top of him trying to actually come up with a cure.
Right.
Yeah, you could tell he's under a lot of stress in this movie. He's getting it from all in, like you said, the locals, his wife, his colleagues. I mean, just
With that being said, Tony, is it stress or is it more of an addiction?
well,
Because
at
one point, it almost seems like he's like obsessed with trying to figure out the cure.
Yeah, he flirts that line where he kind of feels guilty, and then he kind of just wants to keep going because he's, like, to your point, is obsessed with the end result, the product, like what's going to happen. Like and I'll give the actor a lot of credit too. He's very, very good. But he balances that kind of throughout the movie, up until his character's demise, where he's like, you can tell he's kind of a little bit ashamed and a little bit of like he feels guilt, but also he just wants to see it through, and he wants to. That's the the doctor in him, which we've seen in so many movies where doctors. So you see it with a movie like Reanimator with Jeffrey Combs' character. Herbert West. He's very focused and driven. He wants to get to he wants to see the goal essentially, and you can see that with him. And he kind of forced that line between guilt and then totally being immersed and trying to get to the end result. So yeah, to the character in particular, that like his character, it's like I said, it shows on screen very well. You get kind of I didn't think about it before. I never really thought about it until this watch, where I kind of could see his patterns kind of change throughout the movie. So it's really interesting to see it this time around and kind of really focus on it a lot more than I ever have before.
Right. But so towards the end of the movie, of course, they get trapped in this barn, and that was a really cool scene where they're basically on this like standoff with these zombies, and it's just an all-out war.
The barn was very, very cheap. It was very it wasn't fortified, so you just felt like at any moment it was going to collapse and fall over.
Yeah.
It feel sturdy at all.
Yes,
Like
indeed.
the zombies were climbing on it, they were just, and the fire was going. And I was like, oh shit, this is not going to be good.
Just throwing Molotovs in an already rickety shack.
That was pretty intense.
It was intense, man. It really was.
Except for the fact they had unlimited ammo. But at that point, it's like, that's one of the cinema sins that will always haunt movies with guns. Is no one ever has to reload. Right? Like, I got through all 4 Lethal Weapon movies. I think I can get through this one. Like, Martin Riggs always had ammo.
You'll see with Fulci films. That's another kind of trope you see a lot in his films. Watch The Beyond. You talk about unlimited ammo.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, the music score in this movie was awesome, and I know it's on quite a few lists for best horror movie scores, and
definitely on mine.
It's really good. And one of the takeaways as far as the score for me was the tribal music. You know, it blended so well with the background. There was times where like, you know, it'd be quiet, you know. Then there was a build up, it'd get louder. And you know, there was one scene in particular that really I was like, man, that was really good. It was when you were actually outside. I think it was the part where they were in the woods and they just ran away from the conquistador zombies, and the voodoo music's playing or the tribal voodoo music, whatever. It's playing really loud and it's really intense, and then it cuts to a scene where they're inside the hospital, um and then you can still hear the music, but it's like really soft. So it's almost like, you know, the music is haunting, it's constant, it's always there, you know. And it really sets the atmosphere well, I think. So that was a big takeaway for me, you know, how well they were able to transition the music from one scene to the next, you know, instead of just hard cutting it out. Like they left it there, but it was like, you know, and that's just another amazing attention to detail that, you know, Fulci was able to hang on to. And as a director, that's what you got to do, and he did it well.
Yep, I agree, man. I agree. Fabio Frizzi, excellent
Yeah.
score.
Which, looking at his IMDb, interestingly enough, he helped work on some of the soundtrack for Kill Bill.
That's interesting. I did not know that.
So that's pretty cool. And of course, a ton of other Italian
Yeah, I know he was
movies.
a Fulci mainstay. He did a lot of Fulci scores.
So that's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely can't say enough good things about that score. That score is whew, gives me goosebumps when I hear it. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's another one of those scores that just immediately affects my senses and just fucking gives me chills. So you know when a score does that, it's effective and it's memorable and it's legendary.
Mm.
Well, I like the fact that you get a sense of, well, the beating of the drums and stuff is the villagers, you know,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
at one point they actually say the villagers are coming or whatever, and then um the one girl she says the drums are so loud, and so it kind of explains that that's what that is. I thought that was really neat. It's just a different thing, you know. With
Yeah.
it was almost seemed like it was driving her crazy. So
You
that was
talking
pretty,
about the sick lady in the bed?
No,
no, um, what's her name? Shit,
yeah.
scuba diver, naked scuba diver.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because at one point she's like, it's getting so loud, and it was almost like to the point where it was driving her crazy.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sick lady in the bed. That oh man, it's disgusting. All the shit on her face and all over the
Yeah.
pillow. Oh
Yeah.
god, fucking
At,
gross, dude.
at the same time, it was a really cool scene too, because
Oh yeah,
she was ranting about how she's seen her husband die. They buried her, and now he walks.
yeah,
And then, like, as soon as she says that, it cuts over to a scene of this, you know, um, uh, this zombie walking.
yeah.
So
Mhm.
you assume it's her husband. And so I thought that was kind of cool, you know, just a cool little like they didn't have to be in the movie, but the
Mhm.
fact that they put it in there was like just another. It added to the creep factor, you know.
Yeah, it was a nice little transition scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very artistic.
Yeah, I noticed something too when the the local that was helping the doctor, I think his name was Lucas. His arm, like when the zombie takes a bite out of his arm, it's really meaty and really it's really disgusting looking. It's like and it just reminds me of the scene in Dawn of the Dead when they're in the apartments and the zombie takes a bite out of that girl's arm, kind of like the same look. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And I noticed that this time around. I'm like, oh, that's interesting because that reminds me a lot of Dawn of the Dead. So that's cool how they kind of they're kind of like similar in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Could be
It's really,
paying homage.
yeah, maybe. I mean,
Eventually.
possibly.
Oh, just that
It's
when he took
gnarly
that
looking,
chunk
dude.
out of that dude's arm, yeah.
Really, he took a fucking chunk out of his arm.
Yeah.
It's but in Dawn of the Dead, literally took a chunk out of that chick's arm.
Yeah.
So it's almost the same. It almost looked the same. I mean, I would love to do like a comparison, side by side comparison of both of them, just to see how really similar it is. But I just thought that was a neat little touch as well, because we had talked about that pregame. Like, oh man, that fucking bite was oof, gnarly.
Yeah.
So just want to throw that in there too. It's pretty interesting.
All right, gentlemen. Is there anything else to add? I think
I think we covered it.
we did a good job of covering this one. There's a lot to this one. You know, like if
There
you're
is.
listening now and you haven't seen it, yeah, we might have spoiled it a little, but it's a zombie. It's a zombie movie. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
exactly what you would, it's exactly what you would see in any other zombie movie, except there's just so much more. Like you have to you really have to sit down and appreciate the movie for what it is. Like you gotta look at it through an artistic lens to
Mhm.
really appreciate it. And I mean, there's a lot of really cool stuff about this movie. I mean, we've obviously spent the last hour and a half singing its praises, but definitely check it out if you haven't already. Chances are you're listening to this podcast wanting to know our opinion of a classic that you've already seen. That's fine too.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, this is the Midnight Monster Corner podcast you have been listening to, and we greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. We are going to be putting out more reviews in the future. Leave us a like, share, tell your friends about us. If you have buddies that are into horror, or if you know people that just love cinema in general and are kind of dipping their toes a little bit in horror, even if it's mainstream horror, that's welcome too. That's perfectly fine. Um, we will be releasing the podcast in the near future on other outlets such as possibly Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, uh, all those outlets out there that you listen to podcasts on. We are going to be releasing our episodes on that as well, and then there you can leave us reviews and all that good jazz. Um, I think that is about it. You can actually, we do have a Facebook group. Go to facebook.com, go to the search bar, type in Midnight Monster Corner Podcast. It is a closed group, ask nicely, and we just may let you in. Well, I'll let you in. I'm a nice guy. I don't know about these two. You got to watch them.
Yeah.
You can follow me on Instagram at the PG Frosty. Do we have a TikTok? We still have a
We do.
TikTok.
It's Midnight Monster 20 on TikTok.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
We put some more stuff out there.
No, there's no videos on there of me dancing, so forget it.
Yet.
Yet.
That's coming.
I think you shattered some hearts and some dreams there, Frosty. I think people are really looking forward to that.
Sign
Just
up to
let
our
you know.
Patreon to see me dance shirtless. I don't know. Anything else to add, gentlemen?
No, that was perfect.
Yeah, just keep us going and be on the lookout. We're making changes and or we're planning on making changes and really making this thing grow into what it is or what it needs to be or what it's going to become. As always, if you guys have any ideas or anything, if you guys want to see a specific review, leave a comment down below. And also, like Frosty said, join us on our Facebook group and join the discussion and just try and uh, throw some ideas out there if you want a specific review. I know there's been talk about us potentially doing some video reviews coming up in the near future. I'm planning on putting out more of those as well. And yeah, that's going to be about it.
One of our dear listeners, Kyle, actually suggested that we do a series on anime horror.
Ooh,
Tugging at my heartstrings there.
yeah.
We can make that happen.
That one's going to be interesting because you know how we were talking earlier about how you're kind of new to the whole horror genre. Well, in that aspect, I would be very new to the anime genre because I am not particular into it.
It's there's a lot of good stuff out there, and I don't really have to like dig deep because I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of them I'm gonna forget about. Like we got to talk about Parasite, Death Note. Actually, I had one pop in my head. Goblin Slayer is a cool one. Very controversial, that one, especially the first episode. Like I've had probably. I don't want to spoil it. I'll tell you after we stop recording. But a lot of blood, a lot of guts. So yeah, there's a lot of good ones out there. I'm sure it's 2:00 right now, and I'm super tired. I'm sure I'm forgetting a lot of them, but I would love to do a series on like just animated horror in general. I think would be cool.
Yeah, I'm really interested in that too, man. Because like you said, Corey, I'm not well versed in that, so to dive into something that's new to me, it's fascinating. So yeah, I would definitely be down to do a good episode on some anime horror.
Oh yeah.
Very open to that.
Well, thank you, Kyle, for your suggestion.
Yeah, thanks, man, for the suggestion. That's duly noted. We'll definitely look into that.
Yes.
If anybody else has a suggestion, sign up to our Patreon now. $5 a month grants you. I'm just kidding.
Or just leave it in the comment section. Any suggestions, anything that you guys want to see us cover, we would definitely be down to do that. And if you guys are, or if our listeners are, Italian, horror connoisseurs and have seen Zombie, give us your thoughts. What do you think of the movie? How much do you enjoy it? How much do you think it's a little overrated? I don't know. Just, let's generate some discussion.
Mm-hmm.
If you're an Italian person and you just have a hideous face, would it be considered Italian horror?
It could very well be.
Okay.
You can see that.
Send us your pics. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and land this plane. Thank you all so much again for listening. We are out.
Later, guys.
Later.